everyone, and welcome to another casual review. Today, I will be talking about Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. I played this via the Borderlands Legendary Collection on the Nintendo Switch. I was able to get this collection for $25 on the Walmart Black Friday ad deal going on. So it was one of the nice pickups that I was actually pretty excited about because I have a lot of history with the Borderlands franchise. Now, Borderlands is kind of like, it's a first-person shooter, but it's like a looter shooter kind of thing. So there's plenty of games that have done this nowadays, but back then when the very first Borderlands came out, the idea was very fresh and it was very unique and exciting. Like how my friends would always describe it to me before I played it is it's World of Warcraft, but a first-person shooter, and that was always really exciting because I was into both of those things at the time. This is like, you've probably seen a system similar to this before because it's just been copied so many times, but you have the different colors of guns, so like white colored text of the gun means it's like a common gun, whereas like green means it's a little bit rarer, than blue, then purple, then orange is like considered the legendary type of tier. So when you see like an orange title of a gun, then you know that it's really, really rare, and it most likely is going to be pretty good. It's also very similar in World of Warcraft in that you accept quests, and then you go out and do the quests, and then you return it for XP, or money, or sometimes you get a gun, sometimes you get a different type of shield, and so it's very much like World of Warcraft in that way. And then you also level up, and you have these different skill trees. There's 3 different skill trees, and I'll get into that in just a little bit, but just so you can kind of get an idea of what this is, it's just World of Warcraft, but as a first-person shooter. So you've probably seen something like this before. This is one of the franchises that my older brother I think was really into even well into his adulthood. Like by the time he got married, started having kids, it seemed like he dropped a lot of the video game playing, but for some reason Borderlands just really landed with him and my uncle. They used to, I think they still played like Borderlands 3 together a lot, so he's really into Borderlands. Now, counter to that, anytime I mention Borderlands to my little brother, you can see on his face that he just dies a little bit. So I definitely don't think this franchise is for everyone. I think I fall somewhere near the middle, where it has high peaks and low valleys. My past experiences with Borderlands, it was when it first came out, I was very excited to play it, and I ended up playing, I thought at the time I ended up playing a good majority of it with my friend on his Xbox 360. We were playing split screen. Later on, when I became like a PC gamer, PC Master Race, and before I even knew what Steam was, I ended up buying a PC disc from Smith's Marketplace. You know, this is a subsidiary of the Kroger brand, if you will, and I remember buying the Borderlands PC game. It was on sale for like $10, and I was just so excited because like I've always just loved the idea of Borderlands. It's always seemed really exciting to me. And then later on, I actually ended up getting the Xbox 360 version of the game when I think I saw it for really cheap, like $3 at GameStop. And it's just like, yeah, I'll play it. Because like I was excited to maybe play it with multiplayer with other people, because most other people didn't have it on PC. Now, whenever I would do a playthrough of this game, I would think that I would get pretty far with it before I dropped it in favor of something else. Turns out, I wasn't even close to finishing this game. Like, I want to say I started this game probably near 10 times, and each time I would get around like the level 20 mark, drop it off, and I in my head, I was like, yeah, I was pretty close to the end. Not even close. And I will admit, if this game wasn't on the Nintendo Switch, and I could just like pop it in, play it on the go, like fill in the cracks of my day, I probably would have dropped it this time too. It's just it just gets so samey, so like I just get so burnt out of this game after a while. But whenever I start a file of Borderlands, I always get so excited because like it's always a cool idea of finding cool guns and going on quests and stuff like that. But I can never, like, in the past, I never got past around like the level 20 mark. If you do buy this collection physical, the cartridge on it is only including the base Borderlands game, not even the Game of the Year edition of Borderlands. So once you pop in the cartridge, you have to download the Game of the Year for Borderlands 1. You have to download all of Borderlands 2 Game of the Year and all of Borderlands 3, or Borderlands the pre-sequel Game of the Year. So you're gonna download a lot, and it's going to take up a lot of your SD card. So just be prepared. If you don't have a lot of space, you're going to have to clear some up if you want to play through all 3 of these games, because the cartridge doesn't give you hardly anything, really. I will admit, it is really cool having this game on the go, though. Like, I really would not have played through all of this game had it not been on the go. And it's just one of those times when I've heard other people talking about this, when you pop in a game on the Nintendo Switch that you used to play on the TV. It's just so cool. Like, how is this running on the Nintendo Switch? And I'm sure if I had played through a game like The Witcher 3 back in the day, I would have just been so impressed it was playing on the Switch. But that was my first foray into playing that game, so it didn't really hit me as hard as playing through Borderlands on the go. It's just like, if you told me in the past that I could play Borderlands on like a Game Boy device, I would have been like amazed, like, oh, the future is here. It's crazy. And it's just so exciting when I first popped it in, and just to see it on the screen, it was really fun. This is my first FPS game in a long time. Like, I did play The Last of Us Part 2 near the beginning of the year, but I tend to play that game more in stealth, you know, like sneak behind them, choke them out kind of thing. Like, and then I would only play the shooter parts when I really had to, like when I was caught or something like that by the infected. And so I am just gonna say I'm really, really bad at first-person shooters, especially if they're not with a mouse and keyboard. I find aiming really difficult for me. And so, to be honest, I was actually kind of sensitive to the gore for a while. Like, now, granted, this is nothing compared to The Last of Us Part 2, but even that was like maybe 5 or 6 months ago. And so it is possible. I'm living proof that it is possible to be resensitized to this kind of gun violence. Everyone says, like, when you play games, you get so like desensitized to violence, and I think to a degree that is kind of true. I'm not saying that video games do make you violent, but just kind of seeing it after a while, it doesn't really affect you in any kind of way. But after not playing a game like this for a while and just being bombarded with Nintendo games, it's crazy, because like the first time I got a headshot on a guy, just to have his head blown off and like blood coming out, I'm like, oh my goodness. Or like when you run someone over for the first time and blood just splurts all over the place, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. But it's just funny because like I used to play games like this all the time back when I was a teenager, and like after maybe half an hour I was fine with it, you know, it didn't affect me at all. But just when it first happened, I'm just like, holy cow. So like I said, I'm really bad at FPS games, especially using analog sticks. So when picking a character, I ended up choosing the soldier, because each character has a special ability, and then they also have like 2 different guns they're really good with. So you have like the hunter, and he's really good at pistols, and a sniper. So I'm definitely not picking that, because I am not sniping anything in this game. And then he has like a little bird. You have a brick. He's really good at like explosives, grenades, that kind of stuff. And his special power is he just punches people, which I'm like, maybe that might be kind of fun. But then there was the siren. She's really good at like elemental like guns and SMGs. And then her ability, she can turn invisible, and then when she pops out, it does like this little shockwave. And then their soldier is the guy that I picked, and he can deploy a turret to help shoot at targets for you. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And then he's also good at assault rifles and shotguns. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make like this shotgunny guy, just like super tanky. Like, let me just run right up to people's face, blast them with a shotgun, and I don't really have to worry about aiming or anything like that. Did I mention this game is not for the kiddos? Like, it is a very violent video game and very raunchy. So I picked the soldier. I was pretty happy with him. I just played with this tanky shotgunny guy, and it worked to my advantage. I could just run up to them. I didn't really have to worry about like hiding under cover unless like my shields were depleted, and then I just wait for my shields to recharge before I go on out there. Starting out though, it was rough. Like, I'm not sure if this is because, like, I'm really not good at first-person shooters and I needed to level up and get my stats up before I could play the way that I wanted to play, or I'm not sure if the leveling just doesn't match where you're at the time. Like, it's weird because everyone just seems like bullet sponges to me, and it didn't matter if my guns were good for me at the time or not. I struggled a lot to kill people because, like, a lot of them were just bullet sponges. You just see numbers flying from their head. You're just firing a ton of bullets, and their healths are just neat. There's like two really big skag kind of mini bosses called Mo and Marley, and they took forever, and I'm just running out of ammo because I'm firing at these guys with like a ton of health, and I'm not doing like anything to them. And at like when you first start out the game, you only have access to 2 gun slots. Eventually you unlock 4 gun slots, so you really only have like an assault rifle and a shotgun. And if you run out of ammo for both of those, you're like, okay, I guess I'm not going to kill ya. I'll go fuel up on ammo, and then I'll come back, and then you'll be full health again. So that really sucks. So starting out really was rough, and that's why I really emphasized, like, I was just like, I'm gonna get all the side quests. I'm just going to grind. I'm going to do all the little challenges to get bonus XP, and I just really want to be over leveled at this game. And I feel like even at the base game, after 100%ing all of the base game, I was still only like slightly above level than where I should be. I really feel like this game was built for multiplayer, and like all games, this would have been a lot more enjoyable playing multiplayer, but because I play all my games on the go, that was kind of difficult. I can't even imagine playing split screen on that tiny little Switch screen. That would be really hard to see. So I was just playing single player, and I just found all the guys just bullet sponges. It was hard playing through it, the main game, until later in the game when I was actually over leveled. You can get these things called class mods, and they give you bonus XP. I don't know if this is a class mod for all of the different characters, but Soldier has one that gives like the whole team bonus XP. So I always equipped whatever would give me the most XP because I really wanted to be over leveled in this game. Now, despite the difficulty, this game does have this cool little feature. I can't think of any other game that's really like it, but when you are down, your shields get down, your health gets all the way down, you have this thing where you have maybe like 10 seconds, and if you can kill someone within those 10 seconds, you get revived, and it's called Second Wind. And it's always it's kind of like a good way to throw you a bone. Now, granted, dying all the way isn't that big of a deal. You just teleport back to a checkpoint and you lose a percentage of your money. So if you have a ton of money, it hurts a lot because it takes out a huge chunk of change. But it's really not that punishing if you do die. But usually that's not going to happen because you'll be fighting a ton of guys, and as long as you just shoot one and down them, then you can get back up and keep going, which I think is actually a really cool mechanic, and it's very, very helpful for someone such as me and my abilities. Now, this game is based around, I think it's very heavily inspired by Mad Max. You know, it takes place on this planet called Pandora, and you are a vault hunter, and there's these myths of these vaults around this planet Pandora that have just a bunch of treasure, and like all your wildest dreams will come true if you find these vaults. And these stories have spawned a lot of vault hunters looking for these vaults. And so you're on Pandora, and Pandora is a very deserted, like I said, Mad Maxian style biome. Everyone, like, you get all the enemies are in like leather, no shirts. They're just rugged, lots of like spikes, living in huts. They drive around these big old motorized vehicles with like flames shooting out of the sides. Like, you can kind of picture what this game is about if you've seen Mad Max. And so you yourself can drive around these vehicles, and you're driving around the desert firing at these bandits. And the driving itself works pretty well for the most part, but sometimes you can get stuck on like a rock or something like that. And if only one of your tires is hitting the ground, you're just stuck. And sometimes you can get out and you can flip the car over, get back on, and as long as like 2 of your tires are on the ground, you can get going again. But it happened a lot more than I would have liked, where my vehicle is just stuck and there's nothing I can do. I can't unflip it, I can't get it out, and so you just have to walk all the way back to like a car station to spawn another vehicle. It's kind of funny though, because when you pick your vehicle, you have like this little minigun, and then you have this rocket launcher, and you would think that the rocket launcher would do a ton of damage, but no, it's usually the case where if you run into someone, then it just is like an automatic kill, but shooting them with a rocket launcher only takes like a third of their health, so it's a lot more fun just to run people over, because your rocket launcher doesn't do like anything. If anything, it makes it more difficult to kill them, because they just blast and they just launch super far away, and you got to track them down where they went. There is a story, and it is a interesting story, but it doesn't just plain out tell you the story. It's not very good at that. Most of the story you're going to get is from accepting quests and turning them in, and you're just reading the text on the quest. Now, occasionally there will be like this little audio dialogue, someone speaking to you while you're moving around, but I think to get the majority of the story, you gotta read the text, and it makes it very easy to just skip all that if you just want to get straight to the gunplay. It's the type of game that you play all the way through, you see the end credits, you see the little end video, and then you look up online like, okay, what did I just play through? And I actually ended up doing that. I googled like, what is the plot of Borderlands 1? What the heck did I just play through? And it was pretty interesting. This game is notorious for having a really, really bad ending for the main game, but I did like the last boss. I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything like that, but I thought the last boss was really cool, really fun. I think one of the unique things about this game is its graphics. I think this is where it gets its namesake, the Borderlands, where all of the environments, all the characters just have this really thick, bold black border around the edges of them, and it gives it this real cool comic book level of aesthetic, and I think it really works, and it makes a game like this age actually pretty well visually. I think it just kind of gives it that like cartoony look, but still kind of realistic. If you took away all the textures, the models themselves would be very smooth and plain, but I think the textures and the bold borders give it a unique flair that I can really enjoy. The biomes themselves are, I mentioned this earlier, they're just very deserty, and it can actually get pretty boring. I did play through all of Borderlands 2, so I think they fixed this later on, but it's just playing through dunes, boring. In one of the DLCs, you do actually go to like a zombie island, which is a very nice change of pace, but all the other DLC, all of the main game, is just sand, and you're just fighting these Mad Maxian psycho characters and skags, basically. So it can get, I mean, it's easy to see why I dropped this game so many times and why it was so difficult for me to finally play all the way through it. Same with the music, just kind of plain music. The first song you hear is actually like, you're like, okay, but then it just plays the song over and over again, and it's the type of game that you turn the sound all the way down and you just watch a show or listen to a podcast while you grind at side quests, and then maybe like during the main quest you'll get like this person talking to you. That's when you turn the sound up, pause your podcast or something, listen to what that person has to say, and then you're like, okay, off to the next main quest, and then you turn the sound down. It might be a good idea to do that anyway, because all the enemies just have a repeating dialogue. Like all the bandits, I swear, every time I went to an encounter, they're always like, you gonna squeal before we gut you, or something like that, or like, nobody kills my buddy, and it's just the same lines over and over again, and you're like, come on. One thing that kept this game pretty fresh though is the guns. Like, that's what this game is advertising, just millions and millions of guns, so many guns to try out. And so even though my character was specialized in shotguns and assault guns, it was fun to like attempt to snipe, or like occasionally you'd find like this really cool rocket launcher or something like that, and it's just fun. Like, you're never just stuck with one weapon. The game always feels fresh in that aspect, because like sometimes you'll find like a really cool revolver that like does just a ton of damage, but you only get one shot before you have to reload, and so you really have to make your shot count. And other times you just have this SMG with like 200 rounds in a magazine, so you're just firing at will, just trying to get their health dwindled down. It's just fun, and it mixes up the gameplay a lot. Another thing this game is pretty famous for is its jokes. Now, I'm not exactly, I don't know, I don't think a lot of this humor really has aged that well. It's all about like having really irreverent jokes, like tons of double entendres, lots of like that's what she said jokes, just like crazy wackoness. And I don't know if it's because maybe I'm a little older. It's a statement of a bygone era, I guess I'll say. It just like, I'm not saying that I'm all highbrow and like I'm above all this kind of humor. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good potty joke every now and again, but I just don't think some of this stuff has aged that well. And I guess that's just its unique flair, but a lot of the times it just had me kind of rolling my eyes. Like, there's a character, he's all about like making your vehicles. His name's Scooter, and he's just always talking about his mom's girly parts, and it's just like, okay, come on. Like I said, I did start getting a little burnt out by the end of the main game, and I did all the side quests on the main game, and I was pretty happy. I'm like, yeah, finally, like something's happening. You start facing some more unique enemies near the end, and I thought, okay, finish the main game, and then we'll just cruise through the DLC and call it a day. But the DLC I have never touched before. They are long. Like, guys, seriously, this Borderlands Legendary Collection is a ton of content. Just Borderlands Game of the Year, like, alone, besides Borderlands 2 and Borderlands pre-sequel, is a lot of content. If you're looking for a big bang for your buck, you're gonna want this collection because, like, you'll be playing this for a long time. There's 4 DLCs. The first one I mentioned a little earlier. It's like this zombie island, and I was really excited to play through it because it was just so different than the boring deserty bandit kind of encounters that I've had before. I am a little bummed out that this game came after Halloween, because I feel like it would be the perfect thing to play through during Halloween. There's like Frankensteins and werewolves, tons of zombies, mad scientists. It was actually probably my favorite of the DLCs. The second one is just like a horde mode. It introduces this new character called Moxie. She's got like she's one of those very sexualized characters. And I didn't play through this one. I played through one collection of waves, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's just wave and wave after enemies. I'm going to take a hard pass on this, and I moved straight on to the next one. The next one, you get this kind of like big ol' army guy as a boss. Like, he's your enemy in this DLC. But the problem with this one is there's a ton of just driving on highways, and it takes a long time. And unlike the main game, all the DLCs have no fast travel at all. So anytime you have like a side quest, you have to spend, I want to say, like a good 5 minutes just traveling to your destination, rather than just fast traveling there like in the main game, which was a really big bummer. And so you're just driving down these freeways all the time, just facing these armored army dudes. And I did like the final boss in this DLC, but it definitely, probably, besides the arena one, was my least favorite. And then the last DLC was actually kind of a fun concept. They have these robots. I'm sure you've seen them if you've ever seen like footage of Borderlands, but it's these robots that go on one wheel. They're called claptraps, and they're very silly, very jokey, always like the punching bags of the humans, of the bandits. They're always firing at these claptraps. And this DLC revolves around these claptraps that are rising up and rebelling against the humans. And so you're just like killing tons of these claptraps, just hordes, and they always shout things like "Viva Revolution!" and it was just fun. But again, this DLC had the problem of having to run everywhere, like no fast traveling. It took a long time to get anywhere. And so by the time I finished all 4 of these DLCs, I'm just like, okay, I have been playing Borderlands for a long time, and I need to move on. So I actually didn't do all of the side quests for all the DLCs. Like I admit I didn't do really any of the arena ones with the waves. And so, but you know, I did all of the main quests for all the DLCs, and I think I got my fix of Borderlands 1. Overall, the game just feels kind of rough around the edges. It kind of feels, I don't know, like the gameplay itself works. It is really fun. I really like the concept of like, give me these quests, let me go out and do these quests. Maybe I find a chest with some cool guns in it. Maybe we fight like a boss with a cool little title screen that says like a funny little subtitle. And then we go turn it in for XP, maybe get a couple level ups, get some cool skill points in there, and we'll call it a day. I really like that gameplay loop, but it's just like you get stuck all the time, and it just is kind of like this janky game. The Switch port itself was great. Like, I had no FPS drops. I never got booted out of the game. It's an excellent port, but the game itself, and I remember this playing back in the day, it's just a rough game. It just needs a little polish, and it's hard going back to this game after having played Borderlands 2, because I think Borderlands 2 improves this game in every way. And one of the main reasons why I insisted on playing through all of this game, all the DLC, is I don't think I'll ever be coming back to this game again, unless like maybe 20 years down the line, I end up having a child or something like that, and they just really want to play through Borderlands. They're like, Dad, will you show me Borderlands? I really want to play through the franchise with you. And obviously I'd wait till they were like 16 or something like that. Then I could see myself playing through this game. But other than that, Borderlands 2 is just better than this game in every way that I can think of. As for the skill trees themselves, I don't know what the other characters are like. I can't really remember. But for the soldier, nothing seemed that exciting. Most of it was like, okay, this will increase your health. Okay, this increases the rounds in your magazine. Okay, after you kill a guy, this will boost your fire rate for a while. There wasn't really anything too exciting, and the Scorpio turret itself, it's weird because like if you get downed, your Scorpio turret goes away. So you would hope that it stays up to help you trigger that second wind, but nope, it just disappears. So like, don't throw it down if you're about to get down yourself. Also, it doesn't turn around 360 degrees. It can only shoot in front of itself. So it's really not a good idea to hide behind your Scorpio turret because it has this little shield that it wants you to use as cover. But enemies just run behind the Scorpio turret, and then it's useless because it can't turn all the way around. I'm kind of conflicted about this game. I know I have a lot of gripes about it, but I did have a good time with it. Like, I have a lot of fun memories with it. It's just, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth after playing through all those DLCs, having to walk everywhere, drive everywhere. It took a lot of time. I think I will give this game a 3 out of 5. I land pretty much right in the middle when I think of Borderlands 1. I think I will need a palate cleanser of some sorts before I hop into Borderlands 2. It's a lot of Borderlands to go through. So I will take a little break from this Borderlands Legendary Collection. I just need a break from Borderlands because it's a lot of content, and I am really excited to play through Borderlands 2 because from what I remember, it is a really fun game, and it's just a lot better than Borderlands 1, in my opinion. Well, guys, that should be it for now. Let me know if you have any questions, comments about this game, and I will be happy to interact with you. Otherwise, I will talk to you later. Bye!